What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about A Quiet Place: The Road Ahead and talk about why I might get this game. So this is a video series I do where I talk about an upcoming game and discuss whether I'm getting it, not getting it, or I'm somewhere in the middle. People wanted me to do more videos of games that I'm not getting or am kind of like mixed on, and so here you go. Here's another one for you. Now, here's the deal. I think actually with A Quiet Place, it's very relatively simple, okay? The game is coming out in a very packed time, and that is definitely one thing I would say working against it, at least for me, in terms of the negatives, right? It's packed, and you got games like Dragon Age and Metaphor and Dragon Ball, Life is Strange. I mean, October is maybe the biggest month, especially when it comes to games that I've been anticipating for a long time. I don't know if any other month this year will be able to match, October at the end of the day, depending on the quality of these games. But this game comes out kind of smack dab in the middle of it. I think like October 17th or something. Silent Hill. The list actually just goes on and on. But it is a horror game, and I like horror games released in October, so I have nothing really against that part to it. But the only other part to it in terms of negatives, and it's again relatively simple, I feel like this game can go one of two ways. I either think this game is going to massively surprise people in a good way or be very, very bad. And so far, we've seen a lot of positives. So I'm not here to be a negative Nancy, okay? I generally am an optimist with a lot of games, really to my detriment at times because people kind of, tell me about that, in comments, and that's fine. But, I really try to, I just personally get excited about a lot of things. So, I want games to be good. I try to think of games, okay, like prove that you're going to be bad, because until you prove that you're bad, I'm going to go with you. And that's kind of how I've done it with A Quiet Place. Like, until I get big signs that there's a red flag, I'm gonna kind of go with it that the game looks pretty good. So that's really it. In terms of the negatives versus positives, now it could be a very big negative, because what we've seen is kind of this under the radar, almost like indie type horror game. I think the word on the street is that it's been in the works for like 3 or so years. So it's like it's not been in the works for like a year. But movie, I don't want to call it a movie tie-in game, but games like this, right? When you think of like the Jumanjis of the world, or the Fast and Furious, Crossroads, or whatever it was, like those are some of the worst, right? They can be good, but they can also be really bad. And that's kind of where I think A Quiet Place could fall in, where it's like, there's definitely a scenario where reviews come out and it's just god-awful, right? Where it's like, this is a game trying to capitalize on just A Quiet Place's name and trying to fool you into thinking it's the next Alien Isolation. But it's really not, right? It's a complete, garbage. And that could happen. Now, so far, the quality, I think, has been pretty good. The only thing that I think stands out is some of the sounds, which is a little alarming, because for me, it's almost like a basic thing that I don't know how it's off like that. But there was, I think, like a 10-minute IGN extended gameplay, or whatever it ended up being. And the walking. Something you'll do in this game quite often, I imagine, right, is walking. And the walking just sounds very, I don't even know how to describe it, hollow, like echoey, but just very like samey. Like one step is exactly the same as the next. There's no difference depending on where you're stepping. It just sounds off. I think it's also kind of too loud. I'm trying to like remember what the sound of walking, in this game sounds like. But, again, like a thing like that scares me a little, again, because it's like, okay, well, that really shouldn't be like that. That really should be fixed, even if you're showing it in early gameplay. But, again, whatever. Like, for me, because of all the other games I'm getting in October, this is a game I can kind of wait on. So in terms of, the title of this video, I'm not saying I'm going based off reviews. I'm actually going based off one kind of specific thing, and it's just I want more, because I feel also, at least when I'm recording this video, we still haven't had like that major jump of info. We've gotten a little bit. We've seen an extended look. Like we've seen segments, and in those segments, the game looks good. The game feels like A Quiet Place. The game is giving people Alien Isolation vibes, and that's great. Like, again, if this game can be an under-the-radar or even just like a less polished Alien Isolation, and Alien Isolation isn't even a perfect game. There's definitely weaknesses there, but if this can be like a discount Alien Isolation or just like an okay, above average, horror game, I think that's kind of cool, especially because of the name, especially because of the property. So, like, I'd be willing to give it, give it a try for that. But so again, I'm not saying the reviews, but at the same time, it's like if this game comes out and it's getting like 3s and 4s across the board, and Gollum type things, and just the talk of this is a Jumanji, this is a Fast and Furious. If it's like that, then it's okay. I only have one of 2 predictions. I only have 2 predictions in all. If it's one of them, it is what it is. You know what I mean? If it's terrible, it's terrible, and I can kind of wash my hands of it. But I think you're gonna be able to tell as we get closer. I really believe that. Like, I'm making this video kind of early, but I would say over the next 2 or so weeks, the title of this video might have changed, right? Like if you ask me the week before it comes out, depending on what we know, depending on what we've heard, and the title would be, okay, I am going to get it or I'm not going to get it, because I just feel, I don't know, like a preview would give it away, right? If it's so good or it's so bad, I feel like it would make itself known if you gave a journalist or a content creator, if you gave them an hour with this game, I think you'd be able to pick it out, right? And again, like I'm not asking for this game to reinvent the wheel or anything, so that's kind of where I'm standing on it. Like I think review scores could help. I don't want to go against like my motto, my morals of like, hey, I don't really look at scores. I don't care about them. I mean, I think like it getting 8s or 9s versus it getting 3s and 4s sends a picture of like which of my 2 predictions would be right? So like in a way, I am kind of waiting for it. But I think a preview event, I don't know, like we don't even know how long this game is. Is this game like 2 hours? Is it 10 hours? For me, it's quality over quantity. I've said that 1,000 times. So I'm not saying like, hey, a 3-4 hour Quiet Place game, that's not a bad thing, at least if it's a really good 3 or 4 hours, but we actually don't know. We've seen like snippets, but it's like, what's like the whole game? I just feel that's the only other part, and granted, again, it's kind of a big part, that's a part that scares me about it, where it's like, it's just been so mysterious. I don't know if I'm like expressing it right. I mean, you guys can let me know what you think in the comments. I hope I'm expressing it right, because I just feel, depending on how it goes, there are signs that something could be off. But there's also signs where it's like, well, maybe it's just like Alex, maybe it's just a AA type game. They don't have a lot of money. They made a solid game, but like, they're not going to show you 10 hours of it. That's fine. It could really go either way for me. And that's why I'm kind of waiting for like that next shoe to drop, right? So that's kind of where I stand on it. I will be open to covering it and playing it and doing my own videos on it as we get closer. But it'll just be interested to see, what the reception to it is. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure as always you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.